Hi, this is Dan, and this is the Napkin Academy. This lesson is how to use the 6 by 6 rule. Applied use of the 6 by 6. There are two ways we can use the 6 by 6 rule to help us visually clarify, describe, and ultimately solve any problem. Two ways we can do that. The first way we're going to call the I know the problem. Now I need to know which picture to draw. The way this way works is someone comes to us and says, I have a problem. I am not happy. I seem to be running out of money. Oh my gosh. What we do as the visual problem solver is we look at our 6 by 6 and we say, okay, the problem is running out of money. Does that sound like a who or what problem? Well, a little bit, but is that the core? Not so much. I don't see, other than I, the person who's running out of money, I don't see that that's the essence of the problem. Do I see that the problem is where are they? Well, not really. Do I see when? Yeah, there's a when question, but is that essentially what's in here? Do I see how? Not so much. Do I see why? Not so much. What am I really talking about? It's a how much problem. Initially, and this is important, initially, on first blush, it is a how much problem. So what do I do as a visual problem solver when someone says I'm running out of money? The first thing I do is I start to draw some charts. Okay, that was rule number 1. That was approach to using 6 by 6 number 1. I'm able to use the 6 by 6 to help me identify the problem type. Once I know the problem type, I know exactly which picture to begin drawing. Now, the fact is, as I start to explore this problem in more detail, I may have started with the chart, but very likely I'm going to end up drawing some of the others. But the critical issue is knowing how to start. So that's the first way. The second way to use the 6 by 6 rule is kind of the other way around. Let's say I can't for the life of me figure out what kind of a problem this is. I mean, I know there's a problem. And let's say in this case someone comes to us and they say, okay, listen, I'm launching a new product. I'm launching a new really interesting little widget. And I don't know who I'm supposed to sell it to, or I don't know how much I'm supposed to charge for it, and I don't even know what I need to do to build the thing. All I have is this sort of idea that there's a new product out there. Can you help me? In this case, I think it's safe to say that there is no quick way to say we know what the problem is. The problem is going to contain a lot of things. So what we do, the way we use the 6 by 6 in this case, is we don't care what type of problem initially because we don't know. Instead, what we do is we just start with the pictures. And the first thing we do is we say, okay, sir, why don't you tell us a little bit about who your product is for? Is it for this kind of person or this kind of person, or is it for both of them? And then why don't you tell us a little bit about what your product really looks like, or what your product really does, or what kind of benefits your product has. So what we've done is we've said, okay, we're going to draw out some who's and what's, which is going to help us start thinking about it. Now, let's go ahead and say, fine, we've done that. Now let's draw out some charts that show things like how much money do you think you might be able to charge, or what percent of the market do you think you might be able to take? So now what we're doing is we're just drawing out the how muches. And then we continue and we say, okay, well, where, and I don't necessarily mean in which store are you going to sell your product, but where conceptually does your product sit within some kind of competitive landscape of similar products? You know, there are round products that are a little different than yours down here, and there are triangular products over here, and you've got this interesting sort of square round hole in a square box product. So what we're doing is we're actually mapping out where is your product going to sit. And I'll tell you this, we didn't start out in this approach knowing what the underlying type of problem was. It was just a big old why problem, summarized everything. But by virtue of having started with who and what, and then drawn some how much, and then drawn where, we're going to already be getting very clear to clarifying a lot of details about this particular challenge. And then we continue. When? Okay, so when do you think you're going to be able to launch this thing? And when do you think that you're going to need to become profitable? And when do you think manufacturing is going to be able to take place? So given the product that you have, when do you think these things are going to happen? And then we can continue. And I hope that you're getting kind of an idea of the picture that emerges here, because in this version of using the 6x6, it's giving us a very specific guideline to how to go about using our pictures to clarify the problem. And by the time we get right about here, or by the time we certainly get to how is your product going to work? How are you going to market it? Meaning, how are you going to reach that particular market in that particular competitive landscape at that particular time? We're going to be coming very close to beginning to solve the challenge, solve the problem. And by the time we've reached why, where we're actually plotting together everything that we know, we're going to come up with something that looks an awful lot like the solution. So that's the second way to use the 6x6. And in this case, I do like it, and I do strongly recommend that we use this almost in a formulaic way. We literally always start with slice number 1. When we don't know, when we've got a fuzzy problem, just identify who's involved and what does it look like. And then change our mind and say, okay, change the way we think about it and say, let's identify some numbers around it. And then let's think about locations, whether they're conceptual or whether they're geographic. And then let's think about when is this going to happen. We follow exactly this order, and we will, within a very short time, have come up with something that looks like the beginning of a solution. And absolutely, we will have clarified so many things that remained vague at the initial problem statement. So those are the two ways to use the 6x6. Again, they're kind of two sides of the same coin. And in a way, I think it's important to kind of close out this discussion of the 6x6 by saying what we are really doing with the 6x6 rule is we are diving into depth on any idea or problem. We are diving into it in depth. And what I mean by that is we're starting out with who and what, and then we're diving down step by step, increasingly detailed, into the underpinnings of what our idea or our problem is all about. We're drilling down in depth. And we're using our very specific tool in a very specific order, learnable, teachable, specific, repeatable, all that stuff, to be able to drill down in that idea on depth and come up at the end with something which is very clear for something which at the beginning started out very fuzzy. That is what the 6x6 rule is all about. I think there's a nice way to summarize the importance of 6x6, which says this. Make it very, almost mercenary in a business context. If we want to make a proposal for an idea, or to sell something, or to raise money, if we want to make a proposal, every winning proposal must contain 6 pictures. All right, every winning proposal must contain 6 pictures because they describe the underlying fundamental basics of what our proposal is about. We leave no stone unturned. And of course, you know what 6 pictures they are. Every good proposal is going to contain a portrait that says this is who and what our idea is about. It's going to contain a chart that gives some numbers. It's going to contain a map of some kind that's going to give location and where things are happening. It's going to contain a timeline, otherwise known as a roadmap, of when things are going to happen. It's going to contain some kind of a flowchart that indicates how our idea works. And then in the end, it's going to contain some kind of a plot which indicates why anybody should care. Every proposal that contains these 6 pictures, almost always in this order, is going to be the kind of proposal that will be unforgettable and everyone will understand it.